Thank you to Pat. Hey, Pat Band. Thank you very much. Thank you, George.
That was fantastic. Thank you all so much. Really appreciate it.
All right, let's you and I have some things in common. We both grew up in Cincinnati, West Side, Catholic kids, and now we are immersed in the culture of Louisville, Kentucky. So first start on a personal note, how's it going for you? How's it going for your family?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. This is awesome. This is a heck of an honor. I love energy. As you guys know, I've been described as making coffee nervous, so energy is kind of my deal. And a big shout out to our band. I appreciate you mentioning them. I've always been very close with the pep bands at all the places that I coached. You know, and I really believe, like, first of all, my connection with the student body is very, very important to me everywhere I went. I'll get back to your question in a second. I'm sorry.
You're running the show.
But, you know, the pep band at all the places I've been, man, those are some of the most passionate students on campus. And they're so selfless, they give their time. So whenever I see them, whether I was, you know, the head coach at Winthrop, like the head coach at the College of Charleston, I don't know why. I have no idea whether it's a Spanish for band, but I always say, banditos. And then they all scream it back to me, so we got a special connection. So I know they've all rolled out. Thank you. But, you know, this is been my introduction to the city of Louisville. This. Passionate fans. People that love the Cardinals, people that love the great city of Louisville. Obviously, this is, I say it all the time, this is one of the most historic, storied, and tradition-rich basketball programs in the history of college basketball. I went over and gave Susan Sweeney Crum a big hug because, you know, nobody exemplifies Louisville, the city of Louisville, and Louisville basketball. The city of Louisville is probably Xavier Crum and Muhammad Ali. You know, I've gotten to know Lonnie Ali. How cool is that? Muhammad Ali and spent some time with the press conference. Are you serious? You know, so, but yeah, it's just been so cool. You just feel it. You just feel how, in the state in general, how important basketball is in this town, the Louisville Cardinals, right? We say it all the time to recruiting. We sell you guys all the time. I talk about you guys constantly. I have like 3 home visits tomorrow around the United States, and I'll talk about our fan base, talk about the passion. You know, I'm from Cincinnati, up the road, and you have the Reds and the Bengals. And obviously, University of Cincinnati and Xavier are in those towns. I don't know if this is being recorded. One of them is my alma mater, as you know. We'll get to that in a minute. But the spotlight's on the Reds and Bengals. I mean, heck, we got a very good professional soccer team here. And, you know, the Louisville Bats, I'm a big fan because they're affiliated with the Cincinnati Reds. But we tell kids all the time, you know, the professional sports team in town, in a city of over 1 million people, is Louisville basketball. You can go somewhere else and
You talk about settling into that story program. Any nerves that come with that at all, or no?
heck yeah.
Okay. Oh, you look so calm and collected.
I'm human.
So how do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, do I have a very, very, very firm understanding of the expectations here? Crystal clear. But, you know, you do understand that there's a legacy here. There's national championship banners here. There's 77 draft picks. There's All-Americans. There's an there's 22,000 seats right down the street at the Young Center. That when this thing is right, it's filled with red, right? So I understand that. You know, it's the challenge is what inspires me, right? It's obviously, you know, the last couple of years haven't gone exactly, you know, to plan or not to the standard that this place is used to. And one of our big slogans, I'm kind of a marketing guy a little bit, it's like you are. You know, we talk about revival, right? The word revival, first of all, Zach Bryan's coming this week from Bourbon and Beyond. I'm going to be out of town, so I can't go. But you know, Revival is my favorite song, and he's one of my favorite artists. And we said, like, hey, the Revival, the Louisville basketball program is what we're trying to do, what we're trying to create here. So we took the word Revival, cut off the end of it, put the I level in the end, so it's Revival a little bit. So that's
Yes.
I tell people all the time, it's not selling if you believe. I mean, it's easy to do if you believe. If you believe you're the passion and what you have with your program, with your players, the administrators, you're not selling. Yeah, you're preaching. Denny Crum, you players were in there looking at the red jackets in there. The floor from the championship team is in there. And, you know, Susan is here. Denny set the standard. It was different, yeah. Rachel wants to give Susan an opportunity to talk to her, and she wanted to say something to you really before we get started.
Yeah, I just wanted to turn this over because I called Susan and I said, I'd love for you to be here tonight. She was so generous in the items she loaned us. And we did a very special program with Denny, with all of his players and everything. So I wanted you to say something to Coach.
We're just all excited. I mean, I don't have to tell you how excited everybody here is. And you mentioned it, and we've all known. The fans are what made UL basketball amazing for so many years. Denny loved the fans here. You're going to love the fans here. The excitement that we're feeling here is amazing. I'm glad to have you here and welcome you and look forward to a lot of fun. I saw the transfer portal video you did. Kids keep coming. It's amazing. So we're excited. We're very happy. Definitely. When do I get check that?
It's been donated. We changed the paper.
There's one in the door too. I don't think I'll ever see again, but there might be more than one.
I do not have one yet. And first of all, I was in all back there looking at it. You know, Coach Roberts, I mentioned, is not only an icon at the University of Louisville, he's an icon in the coaching giant. And you know that is so his brand, right? That red jacket. I'm on the outside, coming in here the last 5 months, but I know the power of that red jacket. And someday, we're probably different sizes, so I may not. When the time's right, and I feel like the revival is complete. I'm going to call you and I'm going to ask you permission to wear a red jacket.
Absolutely.
Want to do this or feel the need to, but any advice that you would give Coach?
Oh God, this guy he knows how to motivate and coach these guys. I wouldn't even try to. No, I mean, you've got the fans excited. You've got everybody just so happy and excited about this coming season. I think that's a whole lot of it. So, no, I'm going to try to tell you. I had me coach it. I apologize. I already have my red jacket on. It is still too hot. All my red. It's long sleeves and sweaters because it's mostly basketball, and I won't do football until it is comfortable outside.
Thank you, Susan.
I'll have red on. Great to see you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So poignant though, when we see you in that red jacket, we know the time's come, right?
And I'm guessing the CBS cameras will find Susan somewhere sitting in the first row nearby when you're wearing that jacket. Coach Crumpton, the program is here. That was one of the signatures. Is there anything, do you have a thing that people see, Pat's doing that on the sideline?
Yeah, that is definitely one of his things as well. You talk about the red jacket. I could never pull that off, so I'm never going to do something like that. I have really bad hair. No, I mean, this has kind of become my thing.
The glasses, yeah.
It just happened by accident.
That's fairly recent though, right? In the last few years?
Yeah, a couple years ago, so I have astigmatism, and you got to get hard contacts, and I try to put them in. We preach toughness, so Coach Kelsey is soft right now. I said, man, those bother me too much. I need to get some eyeglasses. So Ryan Reynolds, who's an actor, he wore these kind of like old-looking ones, and I was like, Lisa, what do you think? She was like, don't know. And I said to my girls, what do you think? They're like, no.
Yeah. I have two mothers too. I
gotta run my outfit by my daughter instead of my wife before I go out. So I went in and got them.
I've been seeing them, there's some of them around town. I saw them on Facebook and said,
No, I don't coach in them yet though. So.
Okay.
We need a caricature artist to capture the really folk friends in the video. We need somebody to capture that. So it's a different world in college basketball than when Coach Brown coached there. And when Vic Pitino coached you, frankly, even when your friend Chris Mack coached you, right? NIL, transfer portal. It's a completely different world. You're the CEO of a corporation. You have to manage so much more than just coaching your basketball players. What has that transition been like for you? Because you lived in the old school world and grew through that when you were coaching basketball. And now you're doing a lot of different things. How do you manage that? How do you plan to have success?
So I'm just going to jump right into the question. Change is inevitable in every industry. The one thing that you can guarantee is change is happening. It doesn't matter if it's the financial sector or it's the technology sector, the car business. My father's in the car business. Major shifts. It's a major shift, right? Probably the biggest seismic shift in the history of collegiate sports. And you better run it. You better run toward it. You better embrace change because you're right. I've been on both sides. I'm hoping to coach for many, many more years. There's probably a faction of coaches that were toward the end of their careers that were like, I'm out.
Nick Saban.
Well, my kids like to eat.
Yeah.
I got to put breakfast on the breakfast table, and so my thing was, you have to run toward it and accept and embrace that change. In terms of my philosophy on how I lead and how I coach and how I mentor and how I build a culture, part of my bad language, my bad English, but I ain't changing. I ain't changing. Like those two young men over there. And they know, they've been with me since June 5th. You know, Kadir Traore and Javon Hadley are two examples of young men that are part of this new era of transfer portal. They both played at different sports and part of the NIL world. But you know, I'm not coaching them any different. The standard is what? The standard. The standard is the standard. And you know, three things in our culture. Blueprint, ABC, stands for what? Academics. What's a B stand for? What's a C stand for? Character. It's going to be about them getting their degree. It's going to be about making them the best basketball player they can be, passionate about your craft. And what's the C stand for? Character. It's recruiting character, but then it's cultivating character. I still believe that I can move the needle in their life. Make them better basketball players, make them championship level basketball players, help them develop into their dreams and aspirations of being a professional basketball player. But someday when they leave me and they look back, I want them to think, man, coach was hard on me, but he made me better. Made them better fathers, better husbands, better professionals, and things like ABC. And then in our cultural blueprint, what are the three things that we focus? One is what? The first one is what? Relentless effort. We go as hard as we can every time. You're going to see a team that plays hard and gives effort every night. Maybe we'll review them later, but what's the second thing in our cultural blueprint? Competitive excellence. We compete. And competitive excellence means every rep is a what? It's a game rep. Doesn't matter if it's a drill on June 5th or it's a drill on September 17th. We don't start official practice till Monday. We don't have our first game for 6.5 weeks. It's a championship level effort in every repetition. And then, hopefully that carries on to their life, in their professional life, and they become entrepreneurs and they start their own business, right? It's excellence every single day. And then, the last thing is what? It's the power of the human. And here it goes back to your question. Like you talk about NIL, you talk about...
I got an A for all of that.
Those two are leaders, man. Those are dudes that represent all those things I just talked about. And going back to the original question about NIL and transfer portal, you know, the uncommon commitment to your teammate in the cause and winning versus we not me, is what the power of the unit is all about. You know, there's going to be a lot of locker rooms around the country that are fractured and that are splintered and that are pulled apart, and there's every year, right? But there's new dynamics that could pull a locker room apart even more. And you know, those truths and those foundational things of what we're about aren't going to change because of that.
I wanted to ask you one question a little bit, based on that.
Yeah, you see how I got the job? I mean,
You had to basically put an entire team together in such a short period of time. Was that, I guess, menacing at all? And then when you started recruiting, it was the ABCs, but when you went after these players, what is it that you were looking for?
Well, ABC, okay, and then it's, right, fit. They fit our system. Like we play one of the more modern styles of basketball, which is versatile, interchangeable parts. They have to be skilled. We want as many guys on the floor that can drill and pass and shoot as possible. We value toughness, competitiveness, sport IQ, making people around you better, and adaptability. Right? How tough? Check, check. Those dudes, if there's a loose ball right there, they eat it. Right? Tough. Competitive. We meet every single day? Every day. Right? Basketball IQ. Those are two high IQ guys. Very good, high assist to turnover ratio, very efficient players in the dribble pass and shoot. Using those guys as examples. Do they make people around them better? You better believe they do. I mean, Kadir had 160 assists last year on the year, and Javon had a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio at his position, which is really, really good. So yes, they make people around them better with their game, but they make people around them better in the locker room. Right? People like to play with them. They're selfless. They're about the power of you. And then adaptability, which is the last piece. Competitive, fast, white, you make people around you better. That's can you go get it? Can you go make a play? You know, sometimes a possession comes down to recruit. Play breaks down. Go get it. And those guys are examples of that. We kind of built a team around those things.
let's talk a little bit about where you came from, where you come from. Charleston,
There's one.
Yeah. University of Charleston, Winthrop before that, assistant at Xavier, assistant at Wake Forest. Faith and family are your two foundations. Where was it? Was that developed in your coaching career along the way? Was that family you were born into? Where does faith and family come from, and how much does it inform you as a human being and as a coach?
It's everything. It's everything. I'm centered in my faith. Right? My relationship with the Lord is the most valuable thing that I have. It's forever. It's eternity. Right? And I try to coach my team. Promote our program, recruit, be a father, be a husband, all those things, with him as my center. I try not to be crazy pushy with it, but my players know that's where I'm centered. I like to think we're a faith-based program. At least that's where the head coach finds his center. It's where I find my strength. It's where I find my purpose. Family. I've said this before. Best recruit I ever signed is Lisa Kelsey. I said it at the press conference. I said it. I hope she doesn't hit the transfer portal on me. My three most prized possessions in the world is my 16-year-old Ruthie, my 15-year-old Caroline, my 11-year-old Johnny, and they're my pride and joy. And when it's all said and done, like, you know, look at Coach Crum, like all these wins and all this stuff. He's remembered for the quality of human being that he was, right? And I'm not going to compromise my principles. We're going to win. We're going to win the right way. But you know, it's centered on those two things: my faith and my family. And then it's Louisville basketball. It's who? It's being a teacher. Because I'm a teacher. I think coaches, the best coaches, and I like to hope to think I become one of the best coaches. Is I think they're educators and they're teachers. I said it before. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "Our chief one life is someone who can make us do what we can." And I think my job for those young men is to make them be what they can. You know, in today's politically correct world, you can't call it chewing them out, whatever. I call it aggressive counseling.
Aggressive counseling, I may use that at home. Let me ask you something. We talked about your energy, and you said you make coffee nervous. And I say it's the Energizer running after an energy drink. Something along those lines. Have you always had that? And I say, God bless your mama.
Yep.
So has that always been?
Yeah, unfortunately for my wife, my son has my energy too. So you know, we all have, I've said it before, we all have gifts and blessings and talents. And I told you, my hair, my looks, short end of the stick, probably intelligence. I was way down at the end of the line. When the Lord was handing out energy, He gave me a double dose. So I just think it's important. I've said this too. And one thing that's funny is I do so many speaking engagements now, and which I love, which is awesome. But you guys keep me on my toes because I got to keep coming up with new material. When I say all these things, I'm always wondering, like, did they heard all these things? One of my favorite quotes is from a guy named Francis Davis, who was a civil rights leader, still alive, lives in Utah. And he's from rural Mississippi. Many of you heard the story before. Grew up very poor. His mom was just, you know, his rock was his center. He said the quote that has stuck with him the most throughout his life was this: "Be who you is, and not who you ain't. Because if you ain't who you is who you ain't." To me, that's just be who you are. Be yourself. I'd be a bad version of that coach. I have to be me as much as I want to emulate. Obviously, the success and the class with which Denny Crum went about winning and winning the right way. I'm not him. He would probably be a bad version of me. I have to be true to who I am. I always say that writer, you know that guy Billy Shakespeare. He said it a little different. He said, "To thine own self be true."
I like both of the approach you do, so that's perfect.
So how many people here were at the Denny Crum program? A good number, a handful anyway. Coach, it was such a special night towards the end of Denny's life. We had such a big crowd. We had to put it up in the loft where there were 300 people. Susan and Danny were coming in virtually, and you talk about family. It was a family of former players paying incredible tribute to this man who did the things that you're talking about, right? Led them to a better life, changed lives that then became generational for those things. I know you're a young man, but do you think about those kind of legacy things? Are you old enough to think, I want to leave this world in a better place, I want to leave these people better off than I am going to fall with it? How cool is that? It was amazing. It was amazing.
You know, I can envision it. I can almost feel it sitting here and looking up and just seeing people drink, you know, over the railings and things like that. And that's the visual. That's the visual that says, man, look at the legacy this man left. The national championship banners are part of it, but you know, when you talk to so many former players that played for him, it was the impact that he made on their life. You know, and you look at your story of guys that played for him and went on either have a successful career in basketball, but probably a way higher percentage that went on to be very successful in business and become world-class husbands and fathers and things like that. And that's the true legacy of the coach. So, you know, my hope is when it's all said and done, I mean, there's some treasured things that I had. One of them is there's a letter, an 8-page letter that I got from Brandon Vega. Okay, Brandon Vega was my first recruit I ever signed when I was at Lincoln. He was a junior college point guard from Snow College, way out in Utah. And Brandon was just a point guard. He was tough. He was stubborn. He was smart. He was fast. I love fast point guard. And Brandon was going to come in, take the ball, run my program. Well, Brandon tore his ACL and hit a really horrific knee injury within 2 weeks when he got to campus. So he's out for more than a year and a half, comes back. We had another freshman point guard that had come in and took off. And this kid became the all-time leading scorer in the history of the school. Keon Johnson was 5'5", 2,400 points, had 43 on Illinois his senior year. I mean, this dude was a stud. Well, Brandon, when he finally got back, was a backup. He just struggled with that. He struggled to accept that. And we butted heads. We butted heads, and it didn't work out. He ended up transferring. It wasn't good. The relationship wasn't good when he left. But the standard was the standard, and the ABCs, and the things that we value, and teaching. And it was 4 years later, I got an 8-page handwritten letter from Brandon Beck, just telling me about the things he learned during the times that he played for me, the lessons that he learned. It was tough love, and he fought it, this and this, and it changed his life. Brandon Vega has started his own brand. He's a published author. He's a professional public speaker right now. He is killing it life. You know what? It's one of the closest relationships I have of all the former players I ever coached. So, I mean, I've coached pros, the NBA players, not really like Coach Crum, but hopefully someday there's people draped over banisters when who knows? But it's those things, right, that when you look back and you go, man, I changed that kid's life.
That's why you do it. Brandon Vegas in the world.
Brandon Vegas in the world.
Love that. We're going to go to the audience and get some of our...
Sure, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the team real quick before we do that, because it's a great showing in the Bahamas, right? You blow a couple of teams out. People love seeing the ball moving, a lot of shooters on the floor. It's crisp, it's clean. What did you learn about your team on that trip, and what did you learn that you need to get better before the regular season? We start pretty soon.
Let's start with every team in the country. I don't care if it's defending two-time national championship Connecticut. Right now, on September 17th, they have a lot of things to get better at too. I know Danny Early would tell me that right now. So, my Cincinnati Bengals.
They gotta get better. I'm with you, brother.
But the Bahamas trip was a culmination of a great 8 weeks to start the revival. First of all, I love my team. I love the makeup. It's a veteran group. It's one of the most experienced teams in Division I basketball this year. We had 9 players on our roster, if you include, the red shirts, 9 guys that played the NCAA tournament last year. All the things that I talked about, they fit. They're about what we're about. And the great thing was, in those 8 weeks, not only did we come together as a team, the chemistry really developed, and that was one of the great things about the summer as well. So, culmination was going down to the Bahamas. Guys worked hard. We were able to get in-season practice for the better part of 3 weeks before we left on the Bahamas. We would go on a foreign trip and get extra practice. So we were able to get in mid-season mode, right? We were doing game prep, we were doing scouting, we were doing system implementation, and it was in-season practice. We were competing every single day when we had each other. So it's nice to go down and play against somebody else.
Yeah.
And we're going to play against better teams than we played against down there. We played against professional makeup of professional teams from the Bahamas, and a collegiate team from Canada. So the teams we play are going to be better, and obviously we don't beat them by a very, very wide margin. But you could see the synergy. You could see the way how the guys were connected on the floor, how we shared the ball. We have a lot of dangerous weapons. We're going to be, I think, one of the deeper teams in the country. We're going to play very fast. And a lot of people say they play fast, but that's our style. I mean, we're typically top 20, top 30 in the country in overall pace. These guys are 2 examples, versatile guys. Many people on the floor that can dribble, pass, and shoot as possible. You mentioned the ball movement, the people movement, which is kind of one of the foundational core principles of our offense. We're always tough teams. We always are very, very good on the offensive glass every year. we're amongst the best in the country in offensive rebounding, and a big reason is we recruit that way, then it's a major emphasis. And I know, I'm sure we're going to talk about more X and O stuff and things like that later, but I love the makeup of our team. Huge upside, plenty of experience. The great thing about coaching these guys is conceptually they pick stuff up so quick. And I thought it would be that way, but like 2 weeks into practice, when we're implementing stuff, it's like you tell them something, cool, you got it, coach. Next. And if somebody, if something goes wrong, you make a mistake, you stop practice, you address it, it's cleaned up and it's fixed. And that's part of having a better team. They say in college basketball anymore, you got to get old and stay old. We got an old team in terms of experience, mentality, basketball IQ. This is going to be a team that's our fan base will be excited.
And those are the teams that are making deep runs in the NCAA tournament. Those teams that are old teams, as you call them. All right, let's get to some of our esteemed reporters.
We do. So we wanted to bring some legendary names to you here who covered sports for many, many years. So Van Dance, can I have you stand up?
Interview me, I don't give up the mic either.
As we say, double D. So Van started covering the Cards 1981. So I wanted you to ask a coach a question for Coach Kelsey. So why don't you take some time?
Let me tell Coach Kelsey, I started in 81, 82. The first 5 years I did U of L basketball, went to the Final Four, 3 of those coached, and won it in 1986. But never nervous, Purvis, Billy Thompson.
All right,
here's the thing.
have a seat, Van.
Coach came here and brought the John Wooden high post offense with him. By the way, that offense went to 18 Final Fours, Wooden and Crum, okay? Won a lot of championships too. And we had another guy up the road a little ways. He developed an offense. Was very critical in the motion offense, the development of that. Of course, I broadcast in the ABA with the Kentucky Colonels. We had the three-point play. Well, in 87, after the Cards won, in 86, they changed the game. They put the three-pointer into the college game. Now, the offense has changed. So what I want to ask you, Coach, what is your philosophy on offense now? How does a coach approach with this three-point play? It's more of an individual one-on-one game. And what is your outlook and your philosophy on the offense?
First of all, Van, thank you for being here. You and Russ, and, you guys are legends in this town. So, thank you. You know your stuff. You know your stuff. You know what this city does, and this fan base does. This is a passionate basketball town. I say all the time, I'm going to have 22, 20, when we get, I have 22,000 assistant coaches. It's one of the things that makes this place great, is not only the passion for basketball, but the understanding of basketball. You mentioned, some great coaches that implemented great systems, whether it's the high post offense. You mentioned a guy up the street. You're not allowed to say Bobby Knight. That's what you were talking about, right? Coach Knight, right? So there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, right? Here's what I'm going to be believer in. Whether it's football, you have the West Coast offense, you have the run and shoot, you have the read option, you have the triple option, you have all that. You know what? All of that's good. If you believe it. If you believe in it. Right? I believe it's not what you teach, it's what you emphasize. Right? You're going to be great at something. You're going to be elite at something if you're truly invested in it. And you study it. You know the nuances. You know the ins and outs, right? Whether it's the high post offense, motion, ball screen motion, new age basketball. You ask about my philosophy. So the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers is a guy named Nick Nurse. So he won a championship with the Toronto Raptors. Before that, he was an assistant with the Toronto Raptors for years and years. Before that, he was the head G League coach of the Houston Rockets. Won a G League championship. He was part of 15 years ago or so, the part of the Houston Rockets organization that really started to not tinker, but really get to the science of analytics and numbers, right? And long story short, not just to bore you, I met with him. He's one of the most innovative thinkers in basketball today. You can ask any coach in the coaching profession today, say Nick Nurse is one of these really modern thinkers. Well, by dumb luck, he was in my basketball office at Winthrop, just knocked on the door and walked in. He was knocking on the practice today. I'm like, hey, sure. Who are you? I'm an NBA coach and assistant in Toronto. I'm like, holy cow, NBA coach can come to my practice. So at the time, this is 2013, we're running some Luther blocker, right? We're running some motion offense. And we did some ball screen motion as well, kind of a continuity ball screen stuff that a lot of teams were running. Grant Stevens started to make that very in vogue in college basketball 10 years ago or so. They were running pattern sideline ball screens and different breeds and wrinkles out with pro. I don't know. So we're doing a little bit of that, and so I started asking Nick afterwards, and I said, Nick, tell me what your thoughts are on some of these things I'm messing with conceptually. And he goes, you want to talk offense? And yeah. He goes, well, let's boil it down to its simplest form. What type of shots do you want? And I'm like, open one. Good one. As NBA coach, I wanted to sound smart and like and he goes, there's probably more than you wanted, but I think it's really interesting. It really kind of, changed the trajectory of my career a little bit. If you look at modern basketball now in the NBA, the majority, I'd say 98% of basketball, probably college basketball, is really moving in this direction. So I'm probably giving away all this stuff, so don't put this on. So he said, well, he opened up this binder, he's like, this is the Toronto Raptors shot spectrum. You know what shot spectrum is? I'm like, no idea. So he gets this bar chart, right? So it's this high bar and then a lower bar. And he points this high bar and he goes, that's the highest percentage shot in the game. So we want the most of those. Pretty simple. Play the numbers. You want to shoot the most of what goes in the most. And he said, Pat, what is that? He goes, no, it's a free throw. So free throw is a 75% shot. Multiply times 2 is 1.2 points per shot, right? So we generate those first and foremost. People talk about foul pressure, playing off the attack. And he said the next highest percentage shot in the game is a rim shot, and then a corner 3, and then an arc 3, and then a paint 2, and then a non-paint 2. So talk about the type of shots you want to generate. How do you generate it? It's the personnel, it's how you recruit, it's the pace you play with, it's the space you play with, it's the actions that are involved. But it all goes back to trying to generate the highest percentage shots in the game. So we play with great pace, but I think what's important is to understand that just because we play fast doesn't necessarily mean we shoot quick, right? We're in the business of generating what we call big advantage shots, which are clean shots at the rim, foul pressure, get to the free throw line, corner 3s, arc 3s, paint 2s, and non-paint 2s in that order. Here's a trivia question. Why is a corner 3 a higher percentage than an arc 3? Everybody says closer. That's what I said, and I had my 5th wrong answer to Nick Nurse. I'm probably boring the heck out of you when you start talking hoop. You get me excited, man. So the reason a corner 3 is a higher percentage than an arc 3 is every corner 3 is catch and shoot. Very rarely you see somebody dribbling into a corner and shooting a 3. Well, if you have a catch and shoot rhythm 3, your percentage should be higher than one amongst the arc. The arc is stuff, the dribble, the staggers, transition. I am putting people to sleep right now. Sleep! It's like a coaching closer.
All right, so I'm going to go to the next question. Is that okay?
And the last part of it is,
I'm taking this.
you might say, oh, Pat, you guys shoot a lot of 3s. Yes, we do, okay? But we don't go out and say, we're going to shoot a lot of 3s today. Like, we don't do that. Like, we don't even talk about shooting 3s. But they present themselves because of the manner with which we play offense. With our pace, with our space, the way we play off the attack, inside out, kick out 3s. And last time I checked, 3 is worth an extra. I can keep going.
Our next legend in the media, Russ Brown, let's go ahead and have you stand up. You started covering the Cards in '83. '83. What is your question for Coach?
Well, first of all, you mentioned Bob Knight, the general. I covered him for 14 years. That was the start of my career. He shot at me once. Obviously, yes. So, before press conferences, I might want you to go through a metal detector. When I tell one other quick story about Coach Trent. When I came over to cover Louisville, the afternoon guy, Jim Tribune, was covering Louisville for the Louisville Times. And after I'd been on Louisville for 2 or 3 weeks, we asked Coach Brown asked him, well, how does Russ feel? How does he like covering Louisville? And Jim said, he feels like he's gone from Nazi Germany to the U.S. And that's the truth, but I've been covering Louisville. My question is, you're playing in a very loaded field in the battle for Atlantis, at least 3 ranked teams, maybe more at that time. My question is, I've got 2 questions really. The first one is, what are your thoughts on playing such tough competition so early in the season? I mean, that's a major chore.
First of all, Russ, just like Dan, you're a legend in this town too. I've heard so much about you.
That means I'm old.
Scheduling, I'm just not the type that, that's going to back down. Like, my mentor used to say, you can't show up for TV, nobody knows. Right? So you mentioned the lineup at the Battle of Atlantis. It's a very, very good lineup of teams, and we'll be up for a major challenge, every single night. You talk about scheduling that. I think that was scheduled before I got here, so I call it the advantage of no choice. But I think it'll be great for our team. I mean, that's one of the best preseason November exempt tournaments that are out there. Some of the best brands in college basketball will be here. Every team that's in that field is going to find a whole lot about themselves early, right? Which is good. Season's a lifetime. We say all the time, so it's not just good or bad. It's a 6-month roller coaster for every team in the country. Look, I'm a passionate fan of the Reds and the Bengals, right? I get high with the high, I get low with the lows. Zach Taylor, who's coaching that team, he's going to put blinders on. He's going to show up and the best practice in the NFL today. That's the only thing they can worry about. And right the ship and be playing in the playoffs. So, whether you play a really, really good team early, you stub your toe, you lose a game, you win 5 games in a row, you rank teams, you're killing it. There's ups and downs. It's being steady throughout the course of the year. But I like that we're challenged early. Heck, even before we go to the Battle of Atlantis, we play, shoot, you said Tennessee, I was going to say Moorhead. That's the first game. I'm worried about the Battle of Atlantis or Tennessee, but you're right. That's going to be a great, SEC or SEC showdown at the Young. I know the fan base is very, very excited about it. Josh Hurd, who's a great leader, who's our athletic director, who hired me, who's, I think, one of the most forward thinkers in Division I athletics, especially at the Power 5 level. He's very much involved in the scheduling process with me and our staff. And, we go through each of those. When the Tennessee thing came up, we're like, man, our fans are juice for that. I said, Josh, you promised me there's going to be 22,000 for that game. He promised me. So you guys are on the hook.
You touched on this a lot, but your schedule, I was interested in your non-conference scheduling philosophy. How do you set that up?
So, like how the structure, how it's done. So Brian Floman on my staff, and I don't talk about my staff enough. I wouldn't trade him for the Boston Celtics staff. I think I have the best basketball staff in the country. All the facets that are important: recruiting, player development, mentorship, scouting, recruiting, you name it. They're really good at grinding through it. 12 years, and scheduling are there, right? That's a very, very, very big part of your job, and that's an important part of your job as well. So in terms of making the calls and calling different schools and asking about their interest in playing, how the puzzle all fits together, what date works here, and Ryan does a lot of that heavy lifting and daily work. Obviously, I make the final call with Josh Herb on the movie schedule and things like that. But like one thing we thought was good this year is playing some Kentucky schools. We have Bellarmine on our schedule, we have Moorhead. Obviously, we play those guys down the road.
All right, our final legend I want to get up here is Paul Rogers.
Since 95, started in 73, doing cases 95.
73, okay, because we worked together for many years at HAS. What would you like to ask Coach?
First off, I want to point out, when you came out, the first people who stood and cheered for you are these two guys next to you. So apparently you haven't pissed them off too much yet. You kind of answered this question, so I guess instead of, the question was, everybody that watched your team in the bottom. The first thing I heard from people we said ourselves was, those guys who've been with you for about 2 months look like they've been playing together for 2 years. I think based on what you said, we kind of have an idea of how that came about. But did it surprise you how well they seem to gel that quickly?
First of all, like all the people that I met, hundreds, if not thousands, since I got the job here, and everybody, most people have a story to tell. My first Louisville game was here, and you come up a couple times and kind of like me being a Cincinnati Reds fan, and like the voice of my summers and Martin Gray and Joe Nussall. I've had many people tell me like the voice of their childhood, their winters is all out. When people hear you talk, they think Louisville basketball, and they can see the young center path. So, did it surprise me? Well, pleasantly surprised. I mean, I felt like we were coming along, and we went down there, and it's like the ball popped, and guys were sharing it, and giving up themselves for good of the team. They're giving up good shots, they're great shots. We played a lot of guys down there. We wanted to kind of play in waves, and nobody was getting into their feelings about, everybody wants to play, right? There's kind of guys come out and want to keep playing, but they understand the power of the unit, the way we play. It was fun. It was fun, man. I walked out each of those games. I'm at my hotel room, we're in the Bahamas. Everybody's fans are there. They're all going out. It was an in-season road trip for me. I think it was awesome room. It was awesome view. I was in my computer. This was my first 2 games at Louisville, man. We were going to be ready for those. It was good, man. When I got on that airplane, Paul, and I went home, it was like, this team's going to be really good. And, we're working every day to make you guys proud.
Because I'm going to have you just kind of sum up what this new era, what this means heading into a new era of U of L basketball.
Well, every fan here, I think, could tell you basically what I'm going to tell you, which is it's been rough the last couple of years, Coach. And everybody here is just so hungry to get back to the way it used to be, and frankly, the way we all think it should be, right? And it's happened, and when you go through rough times, the good part of that is then you come up with people like you, just like when John Elson rescued us a few years ago, when Jeff Braun has come to rescue us. Pat Kelsey hopefully look at this program up and roar again, and to you guys in particular, I want to tell you, I got a chance to talk to a lot of the guys in the Bahamas. Great guys, fun to be around, great personalities. Very appreciative of being here, and they would talk about, boy, these fans are so excited. You ain't seen nothing yet.
So I was going to ask you about your relationship with the media, but your reverence for these guys a clear indication of that, so I'll bring this up. This is, many of you don't know this, but I actually played on the worst basketball team that Pat ever played on. The Fox 19 All-Stars, when he was, I think, an assistant coach at Elder, after being a walk-on in Xavier after transferring.
1999.
Is that up there on your list of accomplishments? I was actually getting to a real question without making comments on it. This was right before a time where Skip Prosser gave you an opportunity of a lifetime. What does Skip Prosser mean to you? And for those, I think you all know who Skip Prosser is. But,
So Skip was a coach at Xavier that I played for, and then when he went to Wake Forest, he took me with him and launched my career, and was a father figure, he was a mentor, played for him at Xavier. To call me an all-star, I missed 1,000 points by 812. Coach was just what I said before, Ralph Waldo Emerson quote. He was that person. I love my father, I think, is the greatest father in the history of the world. You know, he's a hero. My dad's was a Marine, and just. But to have somebody like Coach Prosser, he's the greatest teacher I ever had. I got a great education from Xavier. You know, got my business degree, graduated from Valley. I got to throw that out there. But he's the greatest teacher I ever had. He just had a way, and you talk about, you love storytelling. You know, it's why you're here. You tell stories at this museum. First of all, Frazier Museum is phenomenal. Such a great teacher. He was he was a Renaissance man. He was so well read. He could talk pop culture, and he could talk English literature. He had unbelievable relationships with the writers because his vocabulary was better than theirs, which is hard to do. You guys are wordsmiths, and just inspired me to want to be a coach. I didn't know I could sit here and coach at the University of Louisville back, in 1998 when I was playing for him, but he was pretty good lead to follow. Pretty good example as to how to be very, very successful. We won ACC championships with all types of pros, the renaissance of Wake Forest basketball. Skip was at the center of that, but when he died, Chris Paul said at his funeral, he did his eulogy, he said, Coach might be the most successful coach in the history of college basketball and not have an end. Now, Kenny Crumb might be one of those too, because he was such a great guy, but he just had this way of being a fierce competitor. And he ripped your face off for a loose ball like those guys would. I think he's just a class act as well. So appreciate you bringing them up. And Paul, I just want to make one comment. Thank you for saying that. That's very, very nice. I think it's just really, really important that I make it known to the public and to former players and things like that although it didn't, I said this at my press conference, it didn't go the way we all had hoped, but Coach Payne's a national champion. He's an icon around here. In the coaching profession, he's revered because, like Coach Prosser, he's really respected. He's a man of character. And this will always be his home, especially when he at the helm. He's always welcome back here. Fortunately, it didn't work out that way. I'm really, really excited and blessed to be here with this fan base, these players that we brought in, the excitement, the momentum that we have. I stare at the ceiling at night. I just have that vision of the young Pat. Revival complete. I'll barely sleep until that happens.
I firmly believe that. And I had the honor of covering Skip Prosser, and he was the first coach that I ever covered where I was like, they can talk about other things. Like and I see a lot of parallels in what you're doing. So if he was a mentor that rubbed off and is rubbing off, I see it clearly. So congratulations on taking the good influence and running it. It's awesome. We have some players here in the audience with us, and we're excited to hear from them. Javon Hadley is here, and Abubakar Traore. Did I get it? Before they speak,
transfer from Colorado. They were a Sweet 16 team last year. They were nationally ranked the entire year. Coach did a great job with him. Javon started every single game. Javon was one of the leading minutes guys on that team. Played well over 30 minutes a game. You talk to the staff at Colorado, and they sing this kid's crazy. So, when you leave a program anymore, it's fluid, right? It's not always, people don't leave on bad terms. Like both of these young men, when you talk to the people that coach them, that played with them, they speak very highly of them. So, extremely efficient player that can dribble, pass, and shoot. Both, and I'll talk about both of them. Kadir played at Long Beach State, played in the NCAA tournament. He is one of the more unique players in college basketball last year. A double-double machine, almost averaged double-digit rebounds, with 22 rebounds in a game. In the NCAA tournament against just a little bit of a, what do you call it, like space age. It's hard to say what position he is because he can just affect the game in so many ways. The NCAA tournament against Arizona, he had 14 points and 15 rebounds, which is really, really hard to do. And he got 160 assists on the year. Just a really unique player that can affect the game in a whole lot of ways. And then the thing about both these guys, when you start going through a scouting report, like when we were down in the Bahamas, there was a player that played against another college the day before, UNC Wilmington, who was in the league that I was in when I was at, I have a lot of respect for them. A player from this Bahamas team scored 54 points the night before. He had 11 threes, something like that. So we start the scouting report, and I put it right there, and I start talking about him, and both these guys start like arguing about who's guarding. So two really tough guys that really represent what we're all about. Kadir Traore and Javon Hadley.
I definitely wanted to ask you all, what would you say to fans to get them juiced and to get them ready to go for the season? What would you say?
I'll just start by saying, one of our focal points of the program that Coach has, instilled in a lot of us and all of us is just gratitude. So I just want to start with thanking the community. We wouldn't be here without you guys, and we just appreciate everybody that's around, and especially all you guys here, and everybody that's not here. We appreciate you. And I mean, we know the standard. The standard is the standard, like Coach talks about. So there's days where we walk out of the facility late at night with a little bit of limp and a little bit of neck injury. We're working our butts off, and we just wanted you all to know that working our butts off, and we know that the standard is the standard. So we're gonna come out there and try to get you guys some wins.
I did go on the website. Has everybody seen Javon's videos? Yes. Okay. Because I was looking for what number. I love that. All right. Kadir, tell us what you would like to say to fans tonight.
So just like Mom said, we really value gratitude. So I just want to start thanking all you guys for supporting the program, the community, and then every single booster or donor that allow us to just focus on going to school and then just playing basketball. So I just want to thank you guys for all of that. But going to the season, we coming here just on a visit, just when they're saying the website, these guys want to visit. It's just people just can just going through your games. Just Louisville's a Louisville. I heard that a lot, but I didn't realize how big of a city, how big of a basketball city Louisville was. So I come to my visit. So I want to say we come here with a lot of excitement. We want to deliver to the city. We have seen how grateful the city is for the alumni and stuff, and then we know that after this year, this is the place that we can come tomorrow, and then just like people will remember, and then we want to make sure that you guys have like a real vision of us, And then for that, we really believe it. You know, like Coach said, it's going to be tough. You know, like strength and conditioning coach was saying, like every time me and Ron go at it, he said the whole practice facility was shaking. So it's really going hard, like we keep going, like we're not talking to each other no more. But that's how it is, man. Like the standard is the standard. We're going at it like we do not like each other. And as soon as I put said, hey, we done, she's like, hey, my fault. Hey, I hit you. You know, that's how we play. That's how basketball is. You know, like Coach said, we mature, so we understand that when we step on the court, there's no like friendly. We friend. We love each other. We don't hurt each other, but we won't go hard. So just be prepared. One thing you can expect from us is just toughness.
Okay, very good. I think we're all-
Yeah, we'll
We'll be handing out resumes back there.
I think we're all
We're
good.
right in front of their face. Hold on, one note I wanted to make is we've got a ton of big Louisville fans on our staff. One is Big Sullivan, he's in our education department. He couldn't stay, he's driving home at like 5:30. He calls me and says, hey, have a great program tonight. You know, the last time we had an active Louisville basketball player at the Frazier was Russ Smith in 2013, and you know they won a national championship.
Now, let's get some questions from the public. I know you all have some, and we're right up.